Hey guys, what's going on? So wanted to kind of just take this opportunity to just kind of speak some mentorship moments into you guys. And I'm out here. It's Friday. We had a great meeting this last Wednesday, and a lot of great discussion that came out of that meeting. So a couple things from just talking about ideal team player, and one thing that came up in our discussion was progress, right? The difference between progress and change. So I'm reading a book this month called Creating Progress in a World of Change, and it's cool because some of the stuff that we talk about, in our own group, it comes from this thing. So I want to read for you guys a couple things. First, a definition for progress, since we talked about it. Progress means basically forward movement, advance, gradual betterment. It takes awareness, character, discipline, and effort to progress, right? A couple other things that are in here, as far as progress is concerned, the road to success is always under construction. So, change, the inevitability of it, stems from the fact that change can be both negative or positive. We just don't know. So we want to make sure that we're going after progress, right? So change happens. It's something we can't avoid. It's always a form of transition. So it could be a good transition. It could be a bad transition. It could be, everything could be changed. When you're working out, your body's changing, right? Molecules in your body are changing in order to build muscle. So, change isn't really what we want. This is from page 17. Significant change can arrive like an Oklahoma twister, picking us up, shaking our sense of identity, and then dropping us way outside of our comfort zone. The ailing economy, a tough business climate, make it easy to understand why so many people have trouble finding ways to get and stay moving towards progress. And there's 6 P's of progress that the book talks about. I'm going to just kind of want to just mention them shortly and briefly as we get into the next meeting that we're going to talk about. These are the 6 P's basically of progress: peace of mind, pleasure, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power, right? So this book talks a lot about a lot of these concepts. And as we go into this next phase, and as we build upon, temperaments and ideal team player and all these different characteristics, I want to make sure that we always keep in mind that we're after progress, we're after forward movement, we're after forward momentum. We're not just after, any old kind of change that we want. We want to be progressing our life forward. And I don't want to get us too wrapped up and built into just work stuff. I want us to go after, life is humans, right? We are a male mentorship group. So, for most of us here, as we're husbands, as we're fathers, as we're brothers, we want to make sure that we're progressing forward. We're not just changing for change's betterment, right? That being said, it's a good segue into what we're going to talk about now. It can kind of be a daunting title, right? So the session that we're in, right, we're going to be talking about organizational ethics and leadership, and it can sound very businessy, it can sound very work oriented, but that's not really what this is about. Okay, when we talk about organizational ethics and leadership, this is all about our leadership, our ethics, who we are as people, what are our specific ethics, right? Do you have a code of ethics for you? When I was challenged by my mentors probably about 5 years ago now, after my first year kind of just being mentored and kind of getting the steps down, he challenged me. He's like, do you have a code of ethics for you? And what he really was talking about is, do you have a set of principles and values upon which you, David Schenecker, live by, right? As the man of the house, as the head of your household, do you have that? My answer back then was no, I did not have that. It was a foreign concept to me. It wasn't something that I was thinking about, and he presented this kind of idea, like you have to be able to build your own code of ethics, your own principles, your own values. Now, you guys in the Army have a set of principles. You have a set of values, the Army values, right? But are those codified for you? Are they set up for you? So if I said, David Schenecker, do you have a set of values? And I list just the Army values. You can wrap up your identity too much in work, and your work becomes your identity. And if work becomes so much of your identity, you strip away the individualism that makes you who you are. So when we get into organizational ethics and leadership in 2 weeks, on the 22nd of this month, I had asked everybody at the meeting, there's 6 laws that we're going to be talking about inside the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. and I said, hey, go look them up, Google them, and hopefully you started to do that. If you haven't, no problem. I'm going to drop inside of this lesson. So if you're on Facebook, you're reading, you're going to get a freebie. You're going to get the actual summary guide to the book. So if you're following along, you're going to be rewarded, right? So the first one that I asked you guys to do is the law of the lid. The law of the lid simply says the leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness as well as the organization's effectiveness. Okay, so let's kind of dial this in as far as like you as a person, right? If you put a lid on your growth, that's as high as you're going to grow, right? So, when I teach this to business executives, I said, hey, if you're a level 7 leader, you're not going to be able to lead anyone above that level 7. You have put a lid on your leadership and you are stuck leading up to level 7. You cannot lead a level 8, level 9, level 10 leader. You can only lead up to level 7 because you put a lid on your leadership. Here's the thing for you. If you put a lid on your growth, it's going to do the exact same thing. If you put a lid and say, hey, I'm only going to go to level 7, you'll never level up to level 8, 9, or 10 because you put a lid there. It's kind of like when you cook. When you're cooking at home and you have a pot, well, guess what? The heat's going to stay inside that pot. And that's the law of the lid. So the goal for you personally, as you personally grow, is take that lid off. There's no reason for you to stay at a level 7. Lift that lid. Throw it away. Give yourself the ability to grow past that level 7. First point, you got to determine what level you're at. That, like I said at the meeting, you got to find out where your GPS, point your GPS. Where are you at right now? If you can properly identify that, then you're going to be in good shape. You're going to know where you are. So that's the first part, right? Discover what your lid is. Discover what level you're at, and then take that lid off. Stop giving yourself self-limiting ideas and self-limiting beliefs. If you do that, you're going to put a lid on your growth. If you put a lid on your growth and development, you're ultimately going to stay there. Okay, so that's the law of the lid. Law of influence. The law of influence, and there's 5 myths that go into the law of influence, right? But like I shared at the meeting, the law of influence simply says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so as you grow, all right, as a leader, as a man in your home, influence is what you need to be going after, right? Now, there's 5 myths about leadership, and it goes into that, and you'll have the opportunity, if you grab this, you'll be able to go into it, right? Myth that leadership is the same as management. Well, that's not true. Management and leadership are totally different. The myth that leadership is the same as innovation, also not true. Okay, myth that knowledge is leadership. Well, yes, knowledge is power, but knowledge is not leadership. You can know all the things in the world, but if you don't apply it, it's dead, right? Myth that basically leadership is a pioneer, or a leader is a pioneer in their field, also not true. It's good to be the pioneer, but there's dangerous being the pioneer as well. And myth that positional authority is leadership. No, your position does not determine your level of leadership. Okay, you could be the position, and you could have the title, but that does not necessarily make you the leader, right? So sometimes the person who has the most influence in the room isn't even necessarily the leader of the group. So you need to make, there's going to be something in there as well. So that's the law of the influence, right? The law of influence simply says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Okay. Third one was the law of process. Okay. Now, as you get into this guide, there's going to be a whole thing, and I hope you take notes on the guide. I'm not going to go into the law of process too much. It's just the secret of your success is found in your daily agenda. Okay. Successful leaders are lifelong learners. So a bunch of you guys have your own ideas about process, right? You got to have a daily process for your growth. If you are not investing in you, you are wasting your time and you're losing time. So you've got to be intentional with growing you. If you don't grow you, you're going to be basically, you're not gonna have that spark in that fire. You're gonna be taking time away from you versus adding time to you. So there's a whole thing about law of process in there. The law of inner circle, as well as the law of empowerment and law of legacy. You guys can go through those. Again, if you're following along with some of the stuff I post on the website, you're going to have access to this document. I'm going to throw it up there. It's the 21 Law Study Guide. Hopefully you take time to download that, look at that, read that, observe that, piecemeal it together. I hope that you will. But that's really it. I wanted to take 10 minutes of your time today. Speak some life into you, really, again, challenge you. We're after progress. We're after that forward momentum. Again, just like the book said, progress in and of itself is forward momentum. The ultimate definition that we're going to be going after is that we're constantly under construction. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. right? We each may be motivational, but the decision to be motivated is a personal choice. Therefore, motivation is a fire from within. If someone else tries to light the fire under you, chances are it's going to burn very briefly. That's why we control the spark to our fire. With motive and action, it is the inner drive to act, to do, and to try. I hope today has challenged you. I hope today has uplifted you. I hope it's given you some motivation for yourself to start that fire. I hope this mentorship moment has been impactful. There will be more of these coming out. And again, if you're following along, I hope the 21 Law Study Guide helps you guys with some of that homework we talked about at the meeting. I look forward to the 22nd. I'm excited for the 22nd. I hope that you guys, more people come out. We had a big group last time. It was awesome hearing everyone's thoughts. My hope is more of you come out to the next meeting that we have, so I can drop more of this great content that you guys can grow and learn from.